Hey, travelers. It's been a while. Boy, this is a lot. Boy, I'm a little disheveled here. Um, anyway, that ain't gonna change nothing. Thing is, though, you know, all that's going on right now, war, and the tensions, racial tensions, and uh, we have people in government that actually tried to take over. You know, uh, and it continues. I don't understand um, how it is that um, people are trying to prevent the right to vote. I mean, everything we do is based in that, in our right to vote. And it seems, how can I say? I'm not going to say seems because that's um, being nice, I think. uh, we have this old, I guess, from the beginning of the country, from Europe or wherever, this attitude that uh, some people are better than others, and I don't understand why this government is allowing, um, in the diversity of the country, that government would allow this one-sided view of things. There's just too many. It's it's the world. It's everybody in the world is represented in this country. So who's to say who's in charge or whatever? If the government was run right, there's no need for this kind of what we're calling leadership, because it's not about leadership. It's about servitude. It's about uh, that's the relationship between, well, that's what politics is all about, is the relationship between government and the people. Now, government is in governing supposed to make the needs of the people, or take care of the needs of the people, make sure that people have in this society the things that they need. And it seems that government is working against that. And while we're being taxed those funds from the revenue from our taxes supposed to cover those things that people need in society. And for decades and decades, anybody who's paying attention, objective, and looking at the situation, it's every talking point, every voting cycle for decades. The talking points have been healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Um, and for decades, those issues haven't been addressed. Okay, so if those issues haven't been addressed, where has the money gone for decades? You know, or is anybody thinking? Is anybody paying attention? I mean, really paying attention to anything other than their own issues? And right here, anything behind their nose is all they're paying attention to. They're not watching, they're not being diligent about holding government accountable for what it's supposed to be doing. You know, if in my job I didn't do what I'm being paid to do, I get fired. And that's what should happen with government. There shouldn't even be any uh, 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 okay. So you have uh, uh, limits to how long a senator, or I think there should be limits to how long, because you end up with all this corruption. You end up with senators working with uh, 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 corporate entities that through these senators and Congress people make law that allow them to get away with uh, uh, these super fun sites where they've run their business and polluted the area that they were working, and then when they leave a mess for somebody else to clean up. And then all the other issues, they're making, you know uh, uh, you have the oil companies. It's obvious that the use of fossil fuels is causing uh, this disastrous weather that we're having and stuff like this here. And you know we have alternatives. So why okay, so we are applying energy to these alternatives, but I don't think it's on a or at a rate that's fast enough really to make a difference. And then everything that um, is supposed to help is set at a cost that it looks like only the rich can afford. Electric cars and stuff like this here. It seems like the deck is stacked against society, when at this point it's society that's paying everybody through our taxes. that are being misappropriated, have been for decades. And where has that money gone? I think that money over these decades, if it was aimed at uh, the right thing to do, uh, we would be so much better off. But greed is the the name of the game today, and has been for you know centuries, I guess, millennial. In the world, um, greed is uh, the cause the cause of the downfall of Rome and the downfall of Egypt and all the empires were destroyed by their own greed, and that's the path we're headed down. And if anybody learns from history, I mean, we should learn from history, or we're doomed to repeat it. And it seems, the greedy, or the powers that be, are working to glorify greed, and you know everybody is looking to have or live like the rich. And if you look at it, um, they're not happy people. They're not happy. I mean, look at you know the things that they need to so what they call happiness. Yachts, these huge yachts, and you know uh now they're astronauts, and stuff like this here, while the world is dying because of greed. Now they're looking, I guess, maybe to go find someplace else to live so they could destroy that too, because that's all that's gonna happen. They don't care. you know Litter bugs. If you look through the uh, uh, what's in orbit around our planet, it's a junkyard. And we're all at risk of things falling out of orbit. They don't care where it lands or where the garbage is. It's like you take a pack of a piece of gum, take the wrapper and just drop it, or whatever. you know and we're allowing this to uh, keep us where we are, because we're not moving forward. And if we continue down this path, the crash, it's already starting to show, with this global warming and all this here stuff. And now you got a war that's moving people, um, and destroying what they have, and that now they're dependent upon their neighbors and whoever, uh, for sustenance, and shelter, and medicine and stuff like this here, and it's not necessary. We're just headed down a path towards ruin, and we see it. We're consciously walking right into it. You know, I'm not saying everybody should be a spiritual being, but at the same time, the just look, our sons and daughters are debasing themselves. They're women especially. I mean, wow. I go through my phone, uh, the friend requests and stuff like this here. It's all about these, okay, you have family and friends, but there's a whole lot of women, half naked, and some of them naked, and some of them performing, you know, going as far as they can without actually performing a sex act you know, on your phone. Now, I'm not talking about porn. I'm talking about regular people putting themselves out there like that. Where, where, where are we going? What the heck is going on here? What's wrong with people? There's no self-respect, no dignity. You know, I'm looking at even in the law. Somebody gets a, a, a DWI, the well, they get to the point where DWI is jail. After the second or third, after the second one, I think the third one is jail time, and you can get more jail time and fines from a DWI than for molesting a child. And I'm not talking about this what they're um, doing with this confirmation, which is another travesty. The way they're treating this woman is ridiculous. Uh, she's overqualified even to be president, and these uh, people who are uh, trying to invoke some kind of, or get her to respond to uh, the kind of mistreatment is it's shameful, really, in this day and age, that you would take somebody who is qualified, like I'm saying, she's qualified, and then to have sat and took all that mess without blowing up, without doing the Kavanaugh thing, you know, and then she's impeccable. Her history is impeccable. There's no as with Kavanaugh, just the example, and what's his name, the Thomas, Clarence Thomas. They were both um, accused of sexual issues, viable accusations, and and they're accepted. This woman is like I said, qualified to the nth degree. She sat there and showed the composure of a judge while she's being berated and they're not even asking her questions based on her job. They're just trying to um, throw her off and couldn't do that. That just goes to show the ignorance that is governing our country. It's terrible. It's terrible. And in so many cases they've shown you uh one of the big ones uh that was pushing on her, when his state fell into an emergency, instead of uh, 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 governing and leading them through that emergency, this guy's gonna go on vacation. But you'll vote him back in. I guess people like being mistreated. I don't, and I don't like to see other people mistreated. But this is what we have right now. There's so many issues that need to be addressed. But I think one issue would, if one issue was addressed, all of the other issues would kind of clear themselves up. And that issue is the economy. We have to change the way we collect revenue. I'm not talking about some ism, some socialism or something. And that's what they do. Anytime you try to make change, they call it something other than what it is, or they make some conspiracy theory about what it is, or some junk like this here. And what I'm saying is just to move the tax from labor and apply that tax to the value of the land. You take the weight of society off the people and apply it to the value to the land. Now I just did a post on my Voice in the Wilderness page on Facebook, and we need to uh, change the whole dynamic of how we collect revenue, and doing so, applying that value, that tax to the value of the land. That revenue would go into, we'd make up a fund for the common good, for society, which would cover the running of government, healthcare, education, infrastructure, and the military, and all the little nuances in between, the our retirements and uh, 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 oh, but you haven't heard. Listen, the value of land in this country, in the 48 states, at the last look, was $23 trillion. And that number is only going to grow because the land values is based in population. So that number is only going to grow unless they just kill a whole bunch of people for you know whatever reasons they might end up having. But that revenue, okay, I applied a 15% tax on 23 trillion, which came to 3 trillion 450 billion. That's a low tax. We pay more than 15%. So you just apply the going rate to the tax on the value of the land, and even 3,450,000,000,000 going into that fund. If it was just that, it would that's what Biden was asking around that number for the infrastructure and child care and all that stuff. That's something like what he was asking for. And this is in a time where uh, nothing is done. But you start doing those things, getting the infrastructure done, getting uh, health care in order, getting education or in order. And once you've done that, that constant influx of money into that uh, 3,450,000,000,000 constantly coming into the fund for the common good, there'd be so much money for the running of this country and the entitlements, if that's what you want to call it. But you know, there'd be money for housing, there'd be money for and always funded, but nothing leaves. Money doesn't leave the fund for the common good other than to cover healthcare, education, infrastructure, military, and the running of government. We don't need and these congressmen and senators or get salaries that they wouldn't need to unless they just plain greedy, but they just wouldn't need to uh, 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 solicit corporations for um, kickbacks and junk like that. The thing is, it would take the corruption that's present today. Like I said, for decades we've been paying into this system, and nothing's being addressed. That's corrupt. When every voting cycle for decades we're talking the same issues: healthcare, education, infrastructure. Every voting cycle. That's what's going on now. And this president is trying to get something done, but even the president's not really in charge. It's more the powers that be. You never see those people who are in charge. It ain't the Bezoses and all them people. They don't make enough money. But because of the design of this uh, uh, fund for the common good, you don't have uh, money being given in tax breaks and stuff like that to people who don't need it, to the rich. The thing is, um, okay, when you look at it, who pays the tax? And that is the landowner. People who own the land would pay the tax on its value. You own a home, you own the land, you know, you so-called own the land that that house is on, and that's the tax you would pay. You would pay a tax on the value of that land. And as in this system, the way it is right now, you know, people's assets can be put in offshore accounts and stuff like this here where they don't have to pay tax and all that. You can't do that with the land. You can't put the land in an offshore account, or you can't lie about the value of the land that you own, and you can't lie about the amount of land that you own, because somebody can just, you know, the government or whatever, go and just survey it, and this is what you owe, dude. It gets rid of a lot of the uh, corruption, right? It just, there's no access to corruption, so it would be a clear revenue base, a constant revenue base. I'm telling you, if you listen and think a little bit, sustainable, because its value only grows. That's the only new revenue in our system is the the growth of the value of land. As long as people keep having babies, that value is going to grow. And you know, as a nation, we'd work together. You have some states like um, the states where there's less uh, or there's really not enough people in the state to support the state. Those are pioneer states. You know, they haven't built up to uh, drawing the kind of revenue that um, you know, the more populous states draw. And I believe, you know, through other all the states, the states that get these high, really high tax rates, will be able to help those who who don't. What's wrong with that? This is the United States. This isn't uh, you know, a bunch of separates. This is the United States, and we should act accordingly. My state's better than your state. Get out of here. We're all the same people. We're all, you know, and we all have the same needs. We all have the same issues. But the rhetoric of hundreds of years is blaming somebody for other people's uh, I don't know. I don't know, when you're sitting around privileged, and if you're privileged means somebody's not. Just that word in itself is disrespectful. Privilege. That's what I'm saying. You know, somebody's not privileged, and in this country it shouldn't be that way. We're all the same people. So, you know, in our struggle, we should be helping each other. Heck with giving somebody a handout, a fish sandwich or a chicken sandwich or something like that. You know, help them set up agriculture or whatever. And that's another issue, that I really want to get into. And in these in these posts that I'm making, I'm going to be hitting on all those things of the way we produce our food, and allowing these chemical companies to uh, 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 taint our food and deprive us of a nutrient base based in, as soon as you remove a plant, a fruit or vegetable from the plant, it starts losing nutrients. Only stands to reason. And by the time we get it in the supermarket or whatever markets it's sent to, in a lot of cases, it's 2 weeks old. So it's lost a lot of its nutrient base. And we're wondering why people are overfed and undernourished. People are walking around obese and starving to death. People need to pay attention. Wonder why you're sick. Wonder, you're taking all this, so-called healthy, only because it's pretty. You know, that's what they sell you. What's pretty. There's, I was just watching. These people are taking the stuff that's being warehoused because it's not pretty enough to put on shelves, because people have gotten so used to this pretty food, you know, uh, 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 that they won't buy it if that pepper or tomato or whatever isn't perfect. People don't buy it. Back in the day, when people were hunter gathering, a tomato didn't look like it does today. Apples did, none of this, but it had the nutrient based stuff. You need to grow up and stop being so gullible, because that's what's allowing them to deceive you. Is you're gullible. You let them tell you anything. That's how these conspiracy theories are. I'm wondering if that's my. I'm looking at the quality of this video right now, and I know I do better than this, but I don't really want to cut it off because I'm in the middle of talking. But this is uh, there's a way forward, viable, sustainable, equitable. I mean, and it's a simple. All it is just changing the way we collect our revenue. It's no ism. It's no, like I'm saying, no socialism or whatever like that. Just applying the tax to the value of the land instead of the people. We shouldn't be carrying the weight of the land, especially since they took ownership of land. Who, that's another issue. Is how do you sell land? How do you own land to sell it. Because every living thing on the face of this earth, and even without the land, the oceans would be globs of, if there was no land. The fish wouldn't be able to exist. You know, there's nothing to hold the temperature from the sun. It would just be a glob of water running around in space. So, but because every living thing on the face of this earth needs the land to exist for anyone to take ownership, enslaves those people who live on that land. Because um, you can't live without it. You can't plant anything without paying somebody for the right to do so. You can't build anything without paying somebody for the right to do so. So I mean, that's insidious. It's just like one example, and maybe people know enough about um, Moses and the Exodus, and while they were all out in the wilderness after getting away from the Egyptians, they're all out there in the wilderness, and they got hungry, and God rained manna to feed them. Right? What if that manna landed on private property? I guarantee you those people wouldn't have got the blessing that God gave them without paying for it. Just like we can pray right now and ask God to make the sun more prolific and to grow more plants and our food base to grow, make it bigger and more, bigger animals, more productive and all like that. We could pray and ask God for all those things. But who would get the benefit? You're not thinking, people. And if you can't think past your nose and you don't know uh, anything about this or that, you're just lost, struggling, and trying to blame somebody. It's them. They get welfare. They get this. They get that. Everybody needs, and when you need help, that there should be help in this country. People just don't think past their group or their uh, deception because they've been deceived. People have been deceived. In fact, race as a weapon didn't exist till 1492. You know, and even then, it was all just about land grabbing and people's resources, leaving your country to go and take somebody else's. There's a war going on right now doing that same thing. So you need to start thinking, people. If we're going to move on as a world because we're destroying it, if we're going to move on, we have to do it now. We have to change. And the first thing that needs to change is people's access to, uh, 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 or yeah, people's access to their own wealth, their own productive wealth. We shouldn't be working to enrich somebody else. You know when I go to work, it's not about that company that I work for. I'm going to work to support my family. I own a home. I have utilities I got to pay for, and homeowners insurance and property tax and all this craziness that uh well, to tell you the truth, if people had what they worked for all their life, I don't care what happened to their house, they would have the money probably. If they managed themselves properly, they'd have the money to rebuild their house. Back in the day when people, this is before even governments, villages and stuff like that. Everybody had a understanding of right and wrong, and murder was always wrong, rape was always wrong, robbery was always wrong. You don't need to enact a law to say that murder is wrong. We know these things. So we need to set up a system that works to keep things right. Society should be an immune system. It should act as an immune system. When evil raises its head, the society as a whole just you know engulfs it and moves it to the you know get people to the police station or whatever to get that evil or vicious uh, mess out of our society. Just keep instead of just somebody jogging down the street and shoot them because of what color they are. Ain't right. Just jogging down the street, and it's what are you doing here? And it escalates till somebody gets shot, where it didn't even really escalate because as soon as they saw that person, they meant to kill him because of the color of their skin. And it's really it's shameful. It is. It's shameful that people are so afraid of the color of somebody's skin, and that's all it is. That's what you think all these guns are about. Concealed carry permits and all this is. Why are people so afraid that they have to have a gun? People sitting in church with guns on. I mean, strapped to, they want to carry guns into school in or arm teachers and principals and stuff. Excuse me. Why don't you just stop selling guns? There's enough guns out here. You wouldn't have to manufacture another gun, and everybody in this country could have 30 guns. You don't need to manufacture one more gun. In fact, you need to be manufacturing uh, 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 tools that's going to help us uh, build housing, and tools that's going to help us um, uh, with our uh, growing our food and whatever. That's what we should be focused on. We should be focusing on making mass transportation that's uh, not polluting. Our service vehicles and stuff like that should be uh, where we need to. The fire departments, the police departments, those vehicles, all those vehicles should be uh, 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 run on, or electric or whatever. And there's hydrogen and all that. Those are all different kinds of options that people should be getting into. And I see something real insidious about, people don't really care. What they care about is making money. Now, I'm not a mechanic per se. Um, I can keep my vehicles running. I've, other than oil changes, because I don't really, if I don't feel like getting up under a vehicle, I don't have a hoist or nothing like that. But I'll get under and change my oil, and I'll change my plug, do tune ups and stuff like that. But with this electric stuff, now check this out. I know they're gonna get mad at me for saying this, but I really don't care because it's the truth, and we that's what we need to be paying attention to is the truth. Why aren't these electric vehicles being made with a generator or an alternator that keeps that battery charged, just like the cars that we're running now? They're setting up all these charging stations all over the country so they can continue to charge you for, you know, instead of paying for gas, you're paying for electric. Instead of purchasing a vehicle and don't have to stop for charging because you have an alternator that's keeping your battery charged. Does that make sense or what? And then I talk to people about it, and they say, well, if they could, they would. Now somebody wants to get paid. Come on, y'all can do this. But you got to step out of your comfort zone, and if your comfort zone is sitting in this group of people that's sitting around talking about uh, 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 hurting other people and stuff like that, you're in the wrong group, because that's not taking us nowhere. It's not moving us forward. In fact, it's trying to push us back when we have the everything is in place. All we have to do is move, like I said, the tax from labor to the value of the land, and I guarantee you there'll be more money than ever we'll ever need. We'll have parks, you'll have green spaces. We can build in a more natural, you know, uh, so we're not causing mudslides. We don't have to keep digging in the earth, causing these voids that end up causing earthquakes, and the stuff that you're digging for is causing this global warming issue that we're in. There's a lot of area that we need to just stop and look at it and say, look, what can we do to change this? And I'm not a scientist. I'm not an economist. Um, I'm a very spiritual person, but you know, I'm not a Bible thumper. I don't just run around. You know, the end is near and all this here stuff and stuff like. I believe that if we humble ourselves and change from our wicked ways, didn't he say if we would humble ourselves and change, get away from our wicked ways, that he would heal the land? And people, well, people say, well, uh, uh, um, uh, oh my goodness, the last book, Revelations. Well, that's got to happen. Well, I think it's got to happen if we continue down this path. But if we humble ourselves and get away from our wicked ways, he said he would heal the land. Okay, but now this is the argument. But he said that not one word, cross of a T or dot of an I is going to change. I'm not saying that any of that is going to change, because he did say if we would change, be humble ourselves and change from our wicked ways, that he would heal the land. So then, what of Revelations? Well, if we go back that way, Revelations is still there. This is all about us and how we're acting towards creation, towards the creator, towards God. We're walking away from God and allowing these we're being walked away from God. It ain't, a lot of people don't even get a choice because of where they're growing up, or much of a choice. You have to really be into looking for God to get through the environment that you're in, or to get out of the environment that you're in. But we have to do this. We can't continue to let these people deceive us and take our future, take our children's future, take the future of this world. We have to do this. Travelers, it's rough out there in the wilderness, but we shouldn't be just out there. We should be out there learning how to make it better. That's what we should be about. And to look at it, I listen to uh uh I try to listen to all news. I try to uh 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 listen to a lot of black professors. I listen to uh people from all walks of life and their ways of thinking. But what it boils down to is it's all about right and wrong. It's about how we treat each other as human beings. And if we're gonna disrespect each other, we're gonna rob each other. We're gonna degrade each other with stereotypes and other lies to uh, uh, I don't know how you feel like it's gonna make you better because you've told a lie about somebody, or you leave your country and take somebody else's land, and and in the process, you know, commit a genocide that runs from the Arctic Circle to the bottom of South America. Come on, this is you can't move forward like that. We have to make it right. We have to uh, 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 um, uh, heal those wounds that were created in the making of this country, so we can move forward. You might not believe in God. You might not. Uh, uh, but the precepts are sound. I don't care. Right and wrong is right and wrong, God or no. Right and wrong is still right and wrong, and we know because it was put on our heart. You know right and wrong. You know right from wrong. So how about let's get together and do something about this. Make it right. Because I believe this world has a glamour. I'm not talking. I don't mean glamour, but it has a, nurturing and wonderful future if we do what we're supposed to do. There is a way forward. Thank you guys for listening. If you did, and if you did, you could try to get people to check it out. I'm not trying to put out no conspiracy theories or blame this one or that one or whatever like that. It's about all of us. Poverty is a condition in society that we're all responsible for. The rich and the poor breathe the same air. You know, why in the midst of all kinds of wealth, there's abject poverty right next to it. I remember going to Atlantic City. There's more money running through them places than you could shake a stick at, but 2 blocks off, it's a shame how people have to live because they're being deprived. It's not by choice. People are being deprived of the conditions and resources that they need to live a decent life, a comfortable life, which they should. So come on, I'll be back. I I'm trying to set this website up better, but I'm doing that on my own too. I don't have $500 for somebody to make me a website, you know. So I paid $35 or 30 some dollars to get the site up, and now I got to fill it. I got to, and I'm getting into um, editing software and stuff like that to try and make it more appealing, so it's not just sitting here listening to me blah blah blah. But right now, that's all I have, and as I learn, it'll get a little better. I think you'll be a little surprised once I do start putting together what I'd like to be able to do. One thing I like you guys, everybody out there, to know is that I love you guys, and this is all about you. It's all about us, United States, right now, and let our example, if we apply this, our example will change the world because everybody will want to live like human beings. Okay, guys, love you, and God bless, and be safe out there in the wilderness. Just be safe. Pay attention. All right, have a good one.